Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are on the second chapter and second section and mantra number 13. So we'll chant that. Nityo Nityanam Chetanash-Chetananam
Nityo Nityanam Chetanashanam
Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman
Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman
Tamatmastham Yenu Pashyanti Dhiraha
Tamatmastham Yenu Pashyanti Dhiraha
Tesham Shanti Shashwati Netaresham
Tesham Shanti Shashwati Netaresham.
So just one correction, I think in the PDF it is Sashwati with a small e. It should be Shashwati. Shashwati Netaresham. So Nityaha. And first you have to look at Ya Ekaha. Ya Ekaha means this one Atma, this non-dual Atma. Nityaha is permanent. Anityanam. So Nityaha, Anityanam. It is the permanent entity among all the impermanent objects in this world. And not only that, Chetanaha, Chetananam. Among all the conscious beings, it is the very consciousness itself. And what does it do? Vidadhati Kaman Bahunam. Bahunam means of all people. Kaman Vidadhati. It takes care of, it fulfills all the desires of all the people. And ye anupashyanti, the people who see tam, that Atma, Atmastham, as residing in the body, those people are dhiraha. Those are the people who are wise people. So dhiraha here means the wise people, the jnanis they are. And tesham, those people enjoy Shashwati Shantihi, lasting peace. And the last line, last two words are like in the previous mantra, Na Itaresham. The others don't enjoy lasting peace. The others are not wise people. So Atma is permanent among everything that is impermanent. It is the consciousness in all the conscious beings. This non-dual Atma is the cause of the fulfillment of all desires, and the wise persons are those people who see this permanent Atma as residing in the non-permanent body. They enjoy lasting peace, not anybody else. So permanent among the impermanent. Where in Bhagavad Gita did we see this? Those who are chanting should be able to immediately tell us. What are the lines? No? If you are an Upanishad, doesn't mean you should forget Bhagavad Gita. That is the basics. So anyway, I am not going to tell you. We'll leave it for your homework. I expect you will do some homework and post it in the group. Okay, which is the particular sloka of the Bhagavad Gita that refers to the same thing. Impermanent among the permanent among the impermanent. Okay. So Shashwatam Shantihi. They enjoy permanent peace. And na itaresham, those who do not have this non-dualistic view, those who are not Advaitins, they are perpetuating samsara because they don't get lasting peace. So this is another Mahavakya mantra. What is a Mahavakyam? What is the definition of Mahavakyam? Guys, What is the definition of a Mahavakya?
Jivatma Paramatma.
Jivatma Paramatma
Jivatma Paramatma Aikya Bodhaka Vakya. A statement which talks about the oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. That statement is a Mahavakya. So this third line talks about the Aikyam. Okay. Tam atmastham ye anupashyanti dhiraha. And this permanent Atma, Paramatma, is available where Nityaha. Nityaha means Satrupena, in the form of existence itself. Among all the Anityam, among all the impermanent, it is available. And Chetanaha, Chetananam, it is the very consciousness among all the conscious beings. How do we understand these two statements? In all the objects which are jada, which are inert, this Atma is in what form? Satrupena. This is the form of Sat, the existence principle. While in the sentient objects, of course, sentient objects are also existent. Therefore, existence is already there. But in sentient objects, this Paramatma manifests as the Chitrupena, as the consciousness principle. Okay, so that is what is said. So from here, one extraction is that all the names of all the gods which we have in Hinduism, so many gods are there. Vishnu, Shiva, Rama, Krishna, all these, they cannot be two gods. They're only two different names. And if you understand this wrongly, then you have fanatic bhakti, which we are seeing in plenty today. What does this Atma do? Bahunam kaman vidadhati. He fulfills the desires of all worshippers. And again, he fulfills the desires of all worshippers according to the type of karma they do. Right? And again, this is reflected in the Bhagavad Gita by a statement made by Krishna. What is that? No? I will leave that. Second homework. Okay. So these two things we expect as homework. Whatever, please note it down. These two statements, how they are reflected in Bhagavad Gita. Please do your homework and put it in the group. Okay. So he fulfills the desires of people, this Atma, according to the type of karma they do. So prayer can be in the form of asking for needs. Yeah, asking what you need. But remember that in Shastram, simple prayer is of no use. Every prayer is always accompanied by an appropriate karma, a ritual. And therefore, that is why Veda Purva is so important. When you pray for fulfillment of materialistic desires, it is not just the verbal form. There is always a karma stipulated in the Karma Kanda that has to be talked about. Okay, that is only by the way. Now here, he says,
Acharaya,
yes.
is it chapter 4, verse 11? Prapadyanti tamstateva bhajamya.
Very good. So that, it should have come instantly actually, but okay, fine.
Sorry, सोचने में time लग जाता है.
Good enough. Okay, but remember that's why I keep on saying chanting is very important, because Bhagavad Gita is a huge text. We need to remember. Okay, now remember, you recall the mantra which we did last week. So there, he said that Tesham Sukham Shashvatam Nitaresham. And here he says Tesham Shanti Shashvatam. What is the difference between Sukham and Shanti? So Shastra says there is a clear difference. Sukham is joy. So Sukham Praptihi is attainment of joy. Sukham is not to be translated as peace, while Shanti is peace. And this Shanti is not defined as Sukha Praptihi, not defined as attainment of peace, but it is defined as Dukkha Nivrittihi, freedom from Dukkham, freedom from pain. A very, very important differentiation. Sukham is attainment of joy, sukha praptihi, while dukham or shantihi is dukkha nivrittihi, freedom from pain. And therefore, shanti, the word shanti can be used for both. Okay, for sukham and dukham, and we can classify the shanti into two. Peace of mind can be classified into two. The shanti which belongs to the mind, and that shanti is what? It is a reflected ananda, because there is a reflecting medium, the mind. And that shanti comes and goes. And therefore, sukha praptihi, that which comes also goes. So, shanti, which is reflected ananda, is sukha praptihi, while there is another shanti which belongs to the atma, which does not come and go, which is original ananda, and this is dukkha nivrittihi. So here he is talking about dukkha nivrittihi, atma ananda, original ananda. And of course, we should know, I'm sure you all know, that when dukkha nivritti is there, when the original ananda has been claimed by me as myself, then reflected ananda is only a byproduct, right? How to explain with an example? Supposing I want to, I want to shave, okay, and the mirror is not in a very bright corner. So I pick up a torch. Where will I direct the torch? Onto the mirror or onto the face? Onto the face. So when my original face has been revealed by the torch, as a byproduct, the reflected face in the mirror is also revealed. So therefore he is saying that instead of seeking mana shantihi, instead of working for reflected ananda, work for atma shantihi. Mana shantihi will anyway be the byproduct. It will come anyway. Okay, so that is the 13th mantra. Now we will chant the 14th mantra. Tadetat iti manyante.
तदेतद् इति मन्यन्ते
Anirdesyam paramam sukham.
अनिर्देश्यं परमं सुखम्
Katham tu tadvijaniyam.
कथं नु
कथं
तद्विजानीयाम्
Katham nu tadvijaniyam.
कथं नु तद्विजानीयाम्
Kimu bhati vibhati va.
किमु भाति
भाति
विभाति
विभाति
वा
वा
So tad etat. Tad etat means that is this. Tad, that, etat, this, that is this. Iti, thus they know. Iti manyante, thus they know. What does it mean? That is this, this is that. All very mysterious statements. So that is this. That is the anirdesyam paramam sukham. That anirdesyam, that which cannot be defined, paramam sukham, supreme ananda, which is Brahman. And katham, no, how indeed, vijaniyam tata, can I know that? Kim ubhati, does it shine by itself? Vibhati va, does it shine distinctly or not? Okay. So this is what is missing in the mantra is Nachiketa Uvacha. So you should be careful about this. This is not Yamraj talking. Okay. This is Nachiketa who has got a doubt. Who is Nachiketa? Incidentally, we've been doing for some time. I hope you remember. Nachiketa is the student. Okay. We should not forget. And Yamraj is the guru. So mantra number 12 talks about Paramam Sukham. And all these wise people, what do? They discover this Paramam Sukham as available within themselves. Okay. So having said that, so Nachiketas gets a doubt. If this Ananda, Paramananda is inside myself, if the Atmananda is inside myself, the question is, how can I discover this Ananda? So tad etat iti manyate. All these wise people recognize Paramam Sukham, the highest Sukham, which is Brahman, Anirdesyam, which cannot be described. All of them have understood that Ananda, have understood that Brahman. And so he says, Katham nu tat vijaniyam. Hey Yamraj, how can I also discover that Ananda? Kim ubhati. Is it available for me to experience? And vibhati va. So visheshena ubhati. Specific experience. Is it available to me as a specific experience? So the difference between ubhati, experiencing, vibhati, visheshena ubhati, specially available as a specific experience. What kind of experience? For example, we talk about in Yoga Shastra, we say nirvikalpa samadhi. That is a specific experience. Is it available like that? And why does he say that? Because lots of people, in fact, the general thinking among non-Vedantics is that you can first learn about Brahman, you can learn about this Ananda, and then there has to be something done to experience that Ananda. Okay, there are a lot of people here who would appreciate that point of view, because that is what is taught. That Vedanta will teach you what is Ananda. After that, what? Swamiji, I have studied entire Vedanta, but now I want to experience Brahman. So I want to experience this Ananda, which is a mystic experience. Will I get it in Nirvikalpa Samadhi? So there is a logical problem here. What comes must go. What comes cannot be eternal. And therefore, eternal Ananda cannot come. Whatever will come will have to go. That is the law of the nature. What is the only rational explanation possible? That eternal Ananda is you, the subject. And therefore, it cannot never be experienced. It can only be claimed as yourself. So this is the question raised by Nachiketas. It's a very important question for those people who are, many of us, in fact, almost all of us start with, Yogasanas. Yoga Shastra is a very, very specific text which many people study. And it's highly dualistic. It is presented as a very highly dualistic Shastra, though it can be interpreted as non-dualistic way also. But the normal interpretation is dualistic. And therefore, Brahman is something which you have to experience. So that is the doubt that Nachiketas has. Kim ubhati? Is it self-revealing or vibhati va? Do I have to experience it through Nirvikalpa Samadhi or something similar? That is the question. Now we look at the last verse of this section, and is a verse which anybody who has done TTC is familiar with. So we will chant that. Na tatra suryo bhati,
न तत्र सूर्यो भाति
na chandra tarakam,
न चन्द्रतारकम्
nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agni.
विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो अग्निः
Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam.
तमेव भान्ति सर्वम्
Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati.
तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति
So tatra is generally translated as where, but this tatra is not where. This tatra is what?
That
What?
Brahman.
That Atma, that Brahman. Tatra Surya na bhati. The sun cannot illumine that Brahman. The sun cannot reveal that Brahman. Illumine you can understand as reveal. And na Chandra na Tarakam. The moon also cannot reveal. The stars also cannot reveal. Imaha vidyutaha. So nema vidyutaha is na imaha vidyutaha. These flashes of lightning na bhanti. They also cannot illumine. So why is it bhant? Is of course Sanskrit grammar. Okay, I don't know how many of you are familiar, but it always fascinates me. So why is it bhati for Surya and Chandra while it is bhanti for vidyutaha?
Singular and plural.
Singular and plural. Okay, so bhanti is for plural. So ima vidyutaha na bhanti. These flashes of lightning, they also do not illumine that Atma, then kutaha, how can ayam agnihi, this fire, sarvam, so we'll stop at that. Kutaha ayam agnihi, you have to say bhati. How can this fire illumine? Which fire?
Arti.
Nachiketa.
That's why this is sung during the arti, right? So the flame, that diya which you are holding in your hand, which is a small little fire flame, compared to what? Compared to Surya and Chandra and Tarakam and Vidyutaha, this small little flame, how can this fire illumine the Atma? That is the question. Because what is the reason? Sarvam anubhati tam eva. So tam here is that again. Sarvam anubhati, everything shines tam eva, after that Atma alone. And bhantam, that Atma is bhantam, that Atma is self-revealing. And while revealing itself, it also reveals everything else. And therefore, sarvam anubhati. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. By the light of that Atma, tasya bhasa, sarvam idam vibhati, everything else in this world is illumined. Okay. So this mantra we have done before, where
Upanishad.
Kathopanishad, which chapter?
2.
Okay. Chapter 2. Very good. Which section?
Dvitiyavalli.
Not bad, huh? So mantra 2.2.11. This also we have done. It's almost identical mantra. So what is it saying? You have to recall the 5 capsules of Vedanta. I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. I is who? I Brahman. By my mere presence, I give consciousness to the body. To this body, through the medium of that body, I experience Jagat, the world. And because I am the one who is giving consciousness to the body and existence of the world, I am not affected by any of the experiences which take place in the material world and the material body. And by forgetting my real nature, I convert life into a burden. My real nature is Brahman. The moment I think that I am not Brahman, that I am a Jivatma, life becomes a huge burden for me. But it is a simple process to reconvert. By remembering my real nature as Brahman, I convert life into entertainment. So 5 capsules of Vedanta are very, very important. You must always remember. So in this mantra, what is Yamraj pointing out? He is pointing out that infinite Ananda can never be found out by searching for it. Because all our searching is within Anatma. And Anatma does not have Ananda present in it. Infinite Ananda is your own self. Therefore, we can never search for it. And whenever you search, what do? There is you and there is that which is being searched for. All searching is not in you. You are Atma. So outside you, you search. What is outside Atma? It is Anatma alone. Anatma doesn't have even a iota of Ananda present in it. Therefore, permanent Ananda is not an Anatma object which I can experience. It is the very nature of my very own nature. Experiencer Atma. Atma Rupam Ananda. So he says Surya Chandra Tarakam Vidyutam Agnihi. You can search for this eternal Ananda, for Nitya Ananda, by all forms of lights. So lights here can be Pramanam also. Right? All sort of Pramanam you can use. Powerful lights, dim lights, everything you can use. None of these lights will reveal Nitya Ananda. That is the meaning of that. Kutoyam Agnihi. All those. Na Tatra Surya Bhati, na Chandra Tarakam, Nema Vidyuto Bhanti, Kutoyam Agnihi. No light, no external source can reveal that Nitya Ananda, that permanent Ananda. It cannot be revealed. What will you extract from these statements, from this mantra? Permanent Ananda is not experienceable as an object in this world. And therefore, these 5 lights, they represent what? Which are the 5 lights? Surya, Chandra, Tarakam, Vidyutaha, and Agni. These are 5 lights that he has talked about. What do they represent?
Anatma.
What does a light
The-
do? What is the function of a light?
Reveal.
Reveals.
What is that which you use to reveal something?
Eyes.
Which is called what?
Pramanam.
Praman. Okay, so this is how you connect. These 5 lights which are being talked about here, the 5 sources of knowledge, they are your 5 pramanam. Right? And what are the 5 pramanam?
Five senses.
Chakshu Indriya.
Jnanendriya.
You can take that as one interpretation. What else is there? Pratyaksha pramanam,
Okay.
Anumana pramanam,
Anumanam.
and
Anumana.
Then
Upalapti. Upalapti.
Arthapatti, Upalapti.
Arthapatti,
Shabda Pramanam.
Upalabdhi, and Anupalabdhi and Shabda pramanam. You can take that meaning also. So none of the pramanams available to you can reveal the Atma, can reveal this Nitya Ananda. So even Vedanta pramanam, remember, cannot reveal Atma. It is not the function of Veda to reveal Atma to you. I hope that is clearly understood. Do not think that Upanishad reveals Atma. What does Upanishad do?
Negate what is not Atman.
No, we always say Upanishads will reveal the Atma. That statement is completely wrong.
They remove all the barriers or the misidentifications that we have.
Sorry, June, come again.
Mm.
June, we can't hear you.
Misidentifications that we have until only Atma remains.
Yeah, in simple language, they remove the ignorance of the Atma that I have. Okay. The function of Veda is to remove Ajnanam. Please remember, Veda gives Jnanam, Jnanam removes Ajnanam. The function of Veda is not to reveal Atma to you. It is to remove ignorance.
Remove ignorance.
And this is where those 2-3 words I use sometimes. Vritti Vyaptihi and Phala Vyaptihi. They become very, very important. There is only Vritti Vyaptihi in Veda. There is no Phala Vyapti. I hope everybody is clear about this. I sense some what you call slight confusion. So, okay, fine. Let me just talk about these 2 concepts. We have already spoken about this in very great detail in Atma Bodha, beginning of Atma Bodha. But anyway, since all of you may not have been exposed to that. So there are 2 concepts called Vritti Vyaptihi. Vyapti literally means to cover, envelop. Okay, Vritti is thought. And Phala Vyaptihi. So we'll come to that. To understand this, we should know that all knowledge, all jnanam takes place where?
In your mind.
In the mind.
In the antakaranam, in the mind, right? Remember that there is no knowledge which is not there in the mind. Knowledge can take place only in the mind. There is no nasal knowledge, there is no ear knowledge, there is no knowledge, body knowledge. Knowledge means mind is involved. Antakaranam is involved. When Antakaranam is involved, the knowledge takes place in the form of a thought. Any knowledge which takes place is in the form of a thought, right? So you see a red flower, okay? You see a rose. What happens? There is the rose thought in your mind. And now it's important to understand how this knowledge of the rose actually takes place. Okay. So Shastra says that Antakaranam is not physically limited to the body. Okay, this is very important. The Antakaranam is not physically limited to the body. It can flow out of your body through your sense organs. So how do you cognize, how do you recognize a rose? So what happens? You're looking at the rose, right? And according to Shastra, the Antakaranam, the mind, it flows out from your eyes and envelops the object of knowledge, in which in this case the rose. So Antakaranam has gone outside your body and pervaded the rose. The pervasion of the rose by your Antakarana vritti. When I say Antakarana goes out, I mean a vritti. Antakarana goes out in the form of a thought. Okay, so Antakarana vritti goes out and envelops the rose, and that process is called vritti vyapti. Why is this important? You look at the whole Jagat, the entire universe. It's a product of Prakriti, right? Jagat is Prakriti Karyam. Prakriti has two intrinsic capacities. What are they?
Avarna and Vikshepa.
Avarna and Vikshepa. So when I say Prakriti here, it is Maya also. Same thing, no difference. The entire Jagat is a product of Maya Prakriti. Maya Prakriti intrinsically possesses two capacities, two Shaktis, Avarna Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti is the capacity to project a reality. But before Vikshepa Shakti comes into operation, Avarna Shakti has to operate. So Avarna Shakti is the capacity to conceal the true nature of an object. Avarnam literally means to cover. So Avarna Shakti is used to cover the true nature of an object, and then onto that covering, what happens because of the covering? The true nature of the object is not revealed. Onto that covering, the Vikshepa Shakti projects another reality. So you can think of it as the snake rope example. Avarna covers the true nature of the rope. Otherwise, you would have seen the rope. But your Avarna Shakti covers the true nature of the rope. Once the true nature of the rope is covered, then the Vikshepa Shakti projects a snake onto it. The snake is actually Mithya, but this snake is projected onto the concealed rope. So therefore, as products of Prakriti, as Prakriti Karyam, products of Prakriti, every object in this Jagat, in this universe, is associated with both these capacities, Avarna Shakti as well as Vikshepa Shakti. And it is the Avarna Shakti associated with the object that conceals its nature and renders it as unknown. So Vedanta says that actually speaking, when a new object, when any object is before you, that object is subject to Avarna of Prakriti, which has concealed its real nature and rendered it as unknown. Then, when this vritti vyapti of the vritti vyapti takes place, which means the antakarana vritti, you have the thought from your mind, it flows out through the sense organs and covers, envelops that particular object, in this case, the rose. So initially, the rose is not known to you because it is covered by Avarna Shakti. Once your thought, antakarana vritti, flows out, envelops the rose, the Avarna Shakti, the Avarnam, the covering is nullified, which makes the object not known, potentially knowable. The non-known status of the object is converted into a potentially knowable status. Am I clear so far? You have to, this is Vedanta, okay? So please grapple with this. The unknown status of the rose is converted into a potentially knowable status, not known status, knowable status, because of the antakarana vritti which has enveloped that particular rose. What is now needed to make it known, to convert that knowable status to a known status? What is required?
Buddhi.
Consciousness should pervade.
Consciousness has to
pervade. The actual knowing requires Chaitanyam.
Hmm.
Remember, the antakarana vritti by itself is jada. And therefore, when the Antakarana Vritti envelops the Jada, the inert Vritti, the inert thought, when it envelops the inert rose, it does nothing excepting that it converts the rose into a potentially knowable status. But your Antakarana Vritti comes from where? There is Chaitanyam inherent in your Antakaranam, right? The Antakaranam is the mind. The mind is the RM. The RC is always present in the RM. Therefore, the Chaitanyam, the consciousness, is inherent. So while I'm explaining this as two different steps, you have to understand that two different steps are being, the steps are being bifurcated for understanding purposes. But the vritti itself, the thought itself, is already pervaded by Chaitanya. And therefore, when the thought pervades the rose, the Chaitanyam also pervades the rose. The Chaitanyam is inherent in your thought, in your Antakarana Vritti, as what? Chidabhasa, as the RC. Thus, at the very same moment as the Antakarana Vritti envelops the rose and removes the avaranam associated with it, the consciousness, the RC present in that Antakarana Vritti also pervades the rose, and the mind becomes aware of the object. And that is called rose jnanam, rose knowledge. Okay. Then why is it called phala vyapti? We said vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. So vritti vyapti is the pervasion of an object, in this case the rose, by the Antakarana Vritti, which removes avaranam. The avarana shakti is put aside. Phala vyapti is the simultaneous pervasion of the object by RC, and therefore, because the RC is sentient, it is consciousness itself. Therefore, the rose becomes known as the rose. This reflection, Chidabhasa is reflection, right? RC is a reflection. Reflection is called pratiphalita. In Sanskrit, pratiphalam is a reflection. And because Chidabhasa is pratiphalam, that reflection is there in the Antakarana Vritti. So Chidabhasa is also referred to as phala. And therefore, when you say phala vyaptihi, mentally translated as Chidabhasa vyaptihi, RC vyaptihi. Enveloping the rose by the RC, not by the OC. Why does the OC not need to envelop the rose?
He is a karta.
Cannot.
Akarta and always there.
No. Why is it not necessary for the rose to be enveloped by the OC? Very simple question.
OC is anyway Sarvagrata.
OC is
Yeah.
OC is always there, right? But OC is of no use to you. Basically, I'm saying that you are all useless unless the RC is there. As OC, you are thoroughly useless. RC is what lends transactions. And therefore, Chidabhasa enveloping that rose is called phala vyapti because of the word pratiphalam. Pratiphalam is the reflection. So whenever we say vritti vyapti, understand it as covering of an object by the thought. And whenever we say phala vyapti, understand it as simultaneous pervasion of the object by the Chidabhasa. Okay, so this is, both steps are required for jnanam to take place, excepting in the case of Atma Jnanam. Why? Use the steps that I have taken you through, these two steps. You have to use that two steps to tell me that why Atma Jnanam does not require phala vyapti.
Atma is self-revealing. It doesn't require an RC to be revealed. So once the vritti vyapti is done, there is no need for another, the phalavapti to happen for the knowing the Atma.
Correct.
That
Because
is myself.
in the case of the object rose, the object is Jada, and therefore RC needs to pervade. But in the case of the Atma is not Jada. The Atma is sentient. It is Chit itself. And therefore, second step is not required. Therefore, in Atma Jnanam, there is no question of knowing through the use of the RC. It is simply understanding that I am. Therefore, the way no knowing can be there. Because the moment you say knowing, there is a knower and the known. There is the Antakaranam and there is the object. So that is why in the case of the Atma, no knowing in inverted commas can be there. It is only understanding that I am the Atma. And that is what Yamaraj is saying here. Ananda can never be the object of a pramanam. Ananda can never be a prameyam. Hence, aprameyam, that which cannot be known as an object revealed through any pramanam at all. And all pramanams, they reveal what? They reveal anatma. And therefore, aprameyam means this atma is not anatma. It is different from the anatma. Then what is it? Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. This nitya ananda, this eternal ananda is available as I, the atma. Atma ananda eva nitya ananda. Atma ananda itself is called eternal ananda. All objects in this universe can be known only because of consciousness. All knowledge, any knowledge is there only because of the ever available consciousness. Because of this consciousness alone, sarvam anubhati. Everything else in the world, every object in this world becomes known, including my body. And tasya bhasa, because of the light of that Atma, because of the consciousness principle that is Atma, everything becomes knowable also. You remember that the first thing that we are aware of when we wake up is what? In the morning when you wake up, what is the first thing you are aware of?
I am.
Well,
I am.
I am is okay. But that is your nature. What is the first thing you are aware of?
The world is
Morning.
Not the world. Drik Drishya Viveka. Please remember the first 2 or 3 slokas.
around.
The first thing you are aware of is always your own antakaranam. It is the antakaranam which makes you aware of the world. Therefore, the mind wakes up in Jagrata Avastha. Through this mind, which I am aware of the moment I wake up, I experience the external world. And therefore, I become the pramata. Until then, I am the sakshi. In the first step, when I am aware only of my mind, I am the sakshi, the illuminator of the mind. When the mind contacts the external world and I experience the external world, then I am the pramata. So sakshi and pramata, that is the difference. When I join the mind, I am the pramata revealing the entire world. And therefore, entire creation and the entire universe is revealed by whom? By me alone. Through Vedanta, I know that I am Nitya Ananda. Even when there is no object available for experiencing the Ananda. When reflected Ananda is not there, I am still original Ananda. And object is there or not, it doesn't matter. Like my own face, I can never see with my own eyes. That may be the bad news. What is the good news? Even though I can never see my own face, I can always experience my reflected face in a mirror. And therefore, whenever I have a mirror in front of me, I can experience the reflected Ananda. When I don't have the mirror in front of me, I have to understand that I am that original Bimba Ananda, because of which that Pratibimba Ananda, the reflected Ananda, is possible. This Bimba Ananda, original Ananda, I am. And therefore, the Pratibimba Ananda is that which is reflected in my own mind, own Antakaranam. The Antakaranam is the mirror. The mirror, the mind can serve as a mirror. The Antakaranam can serve as a mirror. And upon this mirror, the reflected Ananda can be experienced. What are the differences between these two Anandas, between reflected Ananda and original Ananda, or in Sanskrit, Bimba Ananda, the original Ananda, and Pratibimba Ananda, the reflected Ananda? Bimba Ananda, original Ananda, is a subject. It can never be experienced. Asamvedyam, not experienceable at all. But Pratibimba Ananda is RC, reflected Ananda, RA, and always experienceable, Samvedyam. So Pratibimba Ananda is Samvedyam, Bimba Ananda is Asamvedyam. Bimba Ananda is Nitya Ananda because it is Atma Ananda, Brahma Ananda. Pratibimba Ananda is Anitya Ananda because it is dependent for its existence on the reflecting medium. And not only for its existence, it is dependent for the quality also. For the quality of that Ananda, it is dependent upon the reflecting medium. And the reflecting medium is the mind, which is anityam and constantly changing. Therefore, the quality of the Pratibimba Ananda is also always changing. It is never of one uniform quality. Thirdly, since the reflection, the quality of the reflection depends upon the mind, there will be gradations in the Pratibimba Ananda depending upon how my mind is fluctuating. All experienced pleasures, remember, are Pratibimba Ananda, reflected Ananda only because they will come and go. And in such an Ananda, there is always gradation. You will have good Ananda, bad, I mean, different grades of Ananda, happy, very happy, and so on. How do you adjust your mind so that the reflection will be fine and will be available more of the time? You have to go through sadhana chatushtaya. When we discuss Taittiriya Upanishad, there will be more on this subject. So with this, the second section is over. In the next class, we'll start the Tritiya Valli, the last Valli. With this, I'll stop for today. Any questions? Okay. So we assume that everybody is a jnani.
Acharya.
Yes, please.
I have a question.
Yes, June.
So, is it?
June,
It
you're
might
the only
seems.
one who thinks that you're not a jnani. It's a big problem for us. Okay, tell me.
I'm on the way, Acharya.
Okay.
I'm baby steps under your guidance. So, Acharya, it might be seems a little bit of a silly question, but when we say that the antakaranam like pervades the objects outside through a vritti and involves them, so I was just wondering, like, the sukshma shariram like is not only in the shape of this physical body, but when we see an object in far away, like the sukshma shariram also like protrudes until the objects
we're
we're
not talking about the
perceiving.
entire Sukshma Shariram. We're talking only about the thought, the vritti,
Okay.
the thought in the mind.
Okay.
When we say Antakarnam pervades or flows out, you actually mean Antakarna vritti flows out. The thought flows out. That is what Shastra says. It is the method of recognizing an object. How jnanam is generated. This is a discussion that it flows out through the sense organs, covers the object, the thought itself, the vritti itself.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have many more prakarana granthas which we'll be doing. All of them will have, make these ideas clearer and clearer. Though these are not really discussed in the Upanishads, but the acharyas, the other acharyas who have written the granthas, they make it extremely clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Today class was very deep, but since we did the same subject in Atma Bodha, it was much easier to digest.
And we'll do it again and again and again till it becomes, vasana for you. Then when you see something, it'll become a vasana.
Om Acharya, Assam Vedyam and Samavedyam, what do they mean actually?
Samvedyam is, that which can be experienced. Asamvedyam is that which cannot be.
Okay. Thank you.
Acharya, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the vritti vyapti and the phala vyapti.
Yeah.
So when there is an object that, we've had previous experience of, there is a vritti vyapti first and then the phala vyapti, that simultaneous.
Yeah.
I know this question has been asked before. I don't really remember what came out of it. There are objects that are not known, that you do not have a name for, you have only the form for.
Yeah.
So in that case, there is no phala vyapti as such. There is
Phala-vyapti is there, but you get to know the object. But to know the object as what, that has to be told to you. So if there is a shapeless, new creature, let us say some creature from Jupiter has landed up, right? And there is phala-vyapti, you recognize that it is a creature because how do you recognize? One of the pramanams is there. Comparison is there, that this thing is moving, it has got legs, it has got hands, therefore it must be a creature. So everything comes from the subconscious mind where knowledge is already stored. And if somebody has told you that this creature is a tarantula, then that word comes, this is a tarantula. So that knowledge of what it is, that is drawn from the conscious, from the memory.
so what is not
Phala-vyapti won't cover that. No, it's drawn from memory.
So that's so there are new species which are discovered from time to time and things
Right.
like that. So there is partial phala vyapti in which
No, there is full phala-vyapti in the sense that you know it's a creature which is living.
okay.
Then you have to give it a name, right? So if I, if many people name it and according to them, put my name, Ravi or something like that, tarantula, then that's a name which catches on. So then everybody else will know it is this particular creature. The first naming ceremony is coming from the mind only. That nature doesn't reveal that because it's word. It's only a word. It is the shabda. The shabda artha is the tarantula, but the shabda is something which you have to give. The shabda artha is not revealed. Artha is revealed. Shabda is not revealed.
So the phala vyapti has got nothing to do with the nama as such, but only
Yes.
with the
Phala vyapti, nothing to do with the nama. It's got to do with the rupa, the form.
Om Raviji, by that, all anatma we will require two steps. The vritti vyapti and the phala vyapti. It's only atma where we don't need
Absolutely.
the phala vyapti.
Correct.
For everything else we will do.
Absolutely. Okay, so I will leave this for you all to chew on, and don't forget the two questions.
Acharya, one was answered, no, already?
One was answered. So one question is left.
What was the
And,
first question?
No, I don't recall.
No, about the permanent and the impermanent nature.
No. Yeah, about the permanent impermanent nature. Correct.
I thought of Nitya Sarvagata Sthanu, but then maybe that's
No.
too preliminary. I have
No,
not done the other chapters.
It's not
Yeah.
that. But there are many here you have completed Gita.
Yeah.
So one of them can come up with the answer. Okay, thank you for your patience. And
Thank
we'll
you.
meet next week.
Thank you.
Om Om. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om Om.